I'd like to call the September 20th, 2021 meeting of the City Council for the City of Lake City. If everyone would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation to be given by Councilmember Jake Hill.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Father, thank you for allowing us to see another. Dear Heavenly Father, we ask that you continue to bless us, lead us in the way that you have us so far. Father, we ask that you look over everyone during this pandemic. Father, we ask that you just continue to bless our first responders, our fire department. In Jesus' name we pray.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Lake City Council has opened its public meeting since 1968. The city code has prohibited any person from making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks or becoming boisterous while addressing the city council. Yelling or making audible comments from the audience constitutes boisterous conduct. Such conduct will not be tolerated. There is only one approved manner of addressing the city council, that is to be recognized and speak for the podium. Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hill.
Here.
Mr. Jefferson.
Here.
Mr. Sampson.
Here.
Mayor Witt.
Here.
Mr. Coberline.
Here.
Chief Gilmore.
Okay, we have minutes from August 16th, it's September 7th regular session, and budget workshops on August 17th and August 30th.
We approve the minutes, public, Mayor. Second.
Got a motion and a second to approve the minutes published. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next, we have approval of the agenda. We have several emergency items on there. I would ask that we move item 19, which is resolution 2021-144, up to right after number 5, which is the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the agenda, moving item 19 to just after item 5.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Next is approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
And a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll move item 19. City Council Resolution 2021-144. Mr. Caroline, would you read that by title?
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, adopting a millage rate for the levy of ad valorem tax for the city.
I'm talking about 144.
144. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the execution of an agreement with Michael D. Williams for management services related to the vacant city manager position and providing for an effective date period.
And I believe that item, the item that's not settled in there is the salary. I think a motion would be made with that recommendation.
Mr. Mayor, has there been a discussion with Mr. Williams about the salary that he's willing to accept?
I've talked briefly. He said he was gonna leave that up to us and let us make a recommendation. We've been paying 120, whatever it is, it's only be for a couple of months. I'd say no less than 100, and 120 has been what we've been doing. So
Is that within the normal grade range of what we've been doing?
yes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for approval of City Council Resolution number 2021-144 and fixing the salary in there at $120,000 per annum.
Okay, is there a second?
So
Been a motion and a second. Any discussion by council? I think we're very lucky to have a man of his quality and we appreciate him helping out. Do you accept the 120?
Yes, Mayor, it'd be my pleasure to serve.
Okay, Ms. Sykes, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor, may I ask Fred a question? Do we need to put an effective date on that, Fred, of last week as we had? Or does that matter on this agreement?
Just do an effective date. Hey, that's when. Okay.
I don't know the date that he actually started his employment. This would be effective, this employment agreement at that rate would be effective the date that his pay is to start.
Okay, well, he said he was willing to start it right now or today.
As in today or tomorrow.
Either one.
And you're flexible.
For payroll purposes, we need it to be clear if it was going to be the date he started last week or if it was going to be,
I would say that we would run it from the date that he first came into work. So he came in last Thursday, so I would run it from that date.
Okay,
okay, that was just, I need some clarity on
Mr.
that.
Jefferson, you agree with that?
I agree.
Okay, any other comments, council?
Mayor, I will need to go back and look to see whether or not we can retroactive the pay. Generally, you cannot pay an employee for work that's already been performed, but here you did not agree on payment. So I can, we can either put it, for example, today or last Thursday, but I'll go back and look at the law as it may apply. Again, it'll be, at the latest, it would be effective today.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Sykes, you call the roll, please.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. And Mr. Williams, if you'd like to join us up here.
Mayor?
Okay. We'll, move to the budget hearing. The public of this public meeting is to accept input from all interested parties relative to the discussion, consideration, and final approval of the city's 2021-2022 proposed millage rate and operating budget. We offer the opportunity to all in attendance to speak in regard to the budget and ask that all speakers identify themselves by name and address. At this time, the city finance director will provide a summary of the budget process and address those items essential to compliance with the state of Florida truth and millage trim requirements.
The city council proposes a final millage rate of 4.9000 mills and a final capital and operating budget of $60,625,247 for fiscal year 2021-2022. Council action tonight constitutes the final budget hearing as required by state trim criteria and was announced to the general public by advertisement in the Lake City Reporter published on September 16, 2021. During this hearing, the following agenda will be addressed. The council will discuss the 2021-2022 millage and operating budget and allow citizen input as appropriate. The council will direct announcement of the final millage rate proposed for adoption and of any increase, decrease, or no change. The city attorney will read by title millage resolution number 2021-130. The council will adopt millage resolution number 2021-130 on final reading. The city attorney will read by title budget resolution number 2021-131. The council will adopt budget resolution number 2021-131 on final reading.
At this time, I declare the final budget hearing open for public discussion and input, followed by discussion by the city council. Danny Witt, did you want to speak now?
Yes, sir. By going over these employee pay rate reports on July the 26th, it appears like you have 9 employees that have been given a raise that you guys did not approve. And this is going by the report that came out on 8/31/21. Now, I provided y'all a copy with it last Thursday, when y'all had a meeting last Wednesday last week. I assume y'all didn't look at it, but that's something that you guys need to look into. And I'll provide Mr. Williams with a copy of it right now that was obtained by public request from y'all.
And I've also been advised, there's a public record request over the last 3 months of payroll that's been being sat on by the city and has not been provided. Y'all need to look into that.
Okay, anybody else want to speak on the budget this time?
Mayor Webb,
Yes.
Sylvester Warren, 930, Northeast Oconee. This is the part that frustrates me about the leadership of you and mainly you and some of the council, is that it has been extremely unfair that when the budget was taking place, you refused the citizens who pay the taxes into the budget that you all were working. It's for the people to have no input during that budget process. Then all of a sudden, when game over and there's no seconds on the clock and no timeouts, you're letting people come up and have input on the budget. It's over with. And so I just find this process, this whole budget process to be a debacle. And I find it extremely, and I mean extremely unfair to the citizens of this city and people who pay their taxes. This wasn't right now. And you should either publicly apologize to us for how you treat us during this budget process, or you just consciously live with doing us wrong.
Anybody else wish to speak?
And I want to speak item 13 as well.
Mr. Mayor, Glenn Alvaro, 1156 Northeast Bascom Norris Drive. I rise at this point, at this time to repeat the point I made last I put it here. Echoing some of what Mr. Warren said. At that meeting, I said to you that I thought it was extremely disappointing and unfair not to allow public input during the workshop portion of the process. And by doing so, you pretty much limited sort of input to public hearing process. And as you know, and everybody up here know, generally, once you get to this point, the budget is already set. So I think that was quite unfair. And when you look at the organizational chart, at the top of the organization chart, it says citizens of Lake City. Then it says mayor, council, then it says city manager, and everybody else. What you in this council effectively did, because nobody could suggest that you do otherwise. So I guess you, the leader of the council, but no other member of the council suggests that we allow public input. So I guess everybody's at fault to a certain degree when it comes to that. But by not allowing public input, and I hope this never happens again, that you in effect made a decision about $60 million process and didn't allow the public to have no input. Because as I said then, I'm of the opinion that almost a $6 million budget for the police department for a city that about 12 million people, 12,000 people, I'm sorry. I actually believe that it's overfunded, not overfunded, it's not funded in a way that will benefit the system of this community. I'm concerned about the gun violence, I'm concerned about the lack of trust that people in Norfolk Road have for the police department. So therefore, you know, I'm not for funding the police department, but I am suggesting to you in this council that the money that we're paying, I personally, Glenn About don't see that we're getting our benefit for the dollar being spent. Add that on top of the 16 million that the sheriff's department get. So you're talking about $23 million going to law enforcement that citizens of Lake City contribute. And I just don't see the benefit coming to those of us who live north of the rail track. And I'm speaking for myself in particular. I just don't see it. I don't feel it when I'm talking to people in the community. I'm not sensing people got a whole lot of trust. Yeah, they got some respect. And I'd be lying to you if I said if I had a 911 issue, I would call. Yeah, I would call. And I would expect them to show up. But that don't mean that I want them to be defunded or stop doing their job. But I do think that there's a serious amount of money to pay for a service that I don't think we're getting our dollar for it. So I end on that note, Mayor, and hope that going forward that you will never do this again in the budget process. I mean, it is really unfair. It sends the wrong message that you all know what's best. Be down the citizen. So that's my comment.
Okay, anybody else want to speak on the budget? If not, there are no further comments regarding this matter, and now ask the city finance director to state for the record, the taxing authority, the millage rate to be adopted, the rollback millage rate, and any change to final millage rate represents to the current year's millage.
The City Council of the City of Lake City as taxing authority proposes a final tax on all property located within the City of Lake City, Florida at the rate of 4.9000 mils for the fiscal year 2021-2022 operating budget. The current year proposed operating millage rate is a 0.51% decrease from the 4.9253 rollback millage rate as defined by Florida statutes and represents no change from the previous year's millage rate of 4.9000 mils.
I now ask the city attorney to read village resolution number 2021-130 by title.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, adopting a millage rate for the levy of ad valorem taxes for the city for fiscal year 2021 through 2022, and providing for an effective date period.
I call for a motion for final adoption of village resolution number 2021-130.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve City Council Resolution number 2021-130.
Second.
Been a motion and a second, any discussion by council? Dr. you call the roll, please.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. I now ask city attorney to read budget resolution 2021-131 by title.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, adopting the budget for fiscal year 2021 through 2022, and providing for an effective date period.
I call for a motion for final adoption of budget resolution number 2021-131.
Mr. Mayor, I move for approval of resolution number 2021-131.
Second.
Been a motion and a second, any discussion by council? Ms. Oxley, you call the roll, please.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Okay, that closes the budget portion. Back to the agenda, city council resolution. Okay, it's time for citizens' comments. General comments, I think Mr. Bowden wanted to speak under general comments. Okay, anybody else wish to speak now? Okay, if not, then we'll move along. Under old business, we're to hold a public hearing on city council ordinance number 2021-2204 on final reading. Let me read that by title.
An ordinance of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending the code of the City of Lake City, Florida, Chapter 70, Article 4, Police Officers Retirement Fund, providing for the addition of a Section 70-106, providing for a share account, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date period.
Okay, this was passed on first reading on September the 7th, 2021. Any public comments on this ordinance? If there's no public comments, we'll close the public hearing, move into adoption of city council ordinance number 2021-2204.
Mr. Mayor, I move for approval of ordinance number 2021-2204.
Second.
By final.
Been a motion and a second, any discussion by council? Ms. Oxley, call the roll.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Okay, under other discussion, possible action, fire pension board, general employee pension board appointee. I've been trying to find a person I hadn't been able to get a hold of, in the last few days that I've thought about, and, I'll talk to them, see, and if anybody else has any, if anybody else been able to come up with anybody? Okay, we need to keep at it. And I believe there was another position right there,
The general employee pension and the fire pension.
the police and the fire
No, it's the fire pension and the general.
and the general, okay, so the two of them. All right, we'll move into new business. We have, city council ordinance 2021-2202 on first reading. Mr. Carolina, can you read that by title?
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, amending Article 2, Chapter 104, of the City Code of Ordinances titled Tree Protection, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing an effective date period.
Is there a motion on the city council ordinance number 2021-2202?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion for approval of city council ordinance number 2021-2202.
Second. Been a motion and a second. Any discussion by council? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mayor Witten?
Yes. Next, the city council ordinance 2021-2203 on first reading. Mr. Caroline, would you read that by title?
An ordinance of City Council of City of Lake City, Florida, amending the city code to add a new section number 86-110.16 to Article 3, Chapter 86, which provides for the permanent vacating of the 2 utility easements located between lots 5 and lot 6, and lot 6 and lot 7. All of said lots being located in the Stonegate Park subdivision as recorded on a plat thereof and recorded in Plat Book 7, pages 61 and 62 of the public records of Columbia County, Florida, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing an effective date period.
Okay, even though this is first reading and no public hearing, Mr. Warren wants to speak on this ordinance.
No, it was number 13, man.
13. You had 11 and 13.
I had 13.
Yeah.
I meant 13.
Okay, no, you had 11 and 20. Okay, so 13. Gotcha. Okay, is there a motion as to city council ordinance number 2021-2203?
Mr. Mayor, I move for approval of ordinance number 2021-2203. First reading. Second. Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion by council? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mayor Witten?
Yes. Okay, next is resolution, city council resolution 2021-136. Mr. Caroline, would you read that by title?
A resolution of the City Council of City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the execution of an agreement with Marks Gray, PA, providing for the provision of special legal counsel services related to the aviation at the Lake City Gateway Airport and providing for an effective date period.
Is there a motion as to city council resolution 2021-136?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion for approval of city council resolution number 2021-136.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Any discussion by council? I think it's very important to have a specialist to help us on these airport negotiations. Very much in favor of it. Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mayor Witten?
Yes. Next is city council resolution 2021-137. Mr. Caroline, would you read that by title?
A resolution of the City Council of City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the acceptance of a grant award in an amount of $504,994.00 from the State of Florida Department of Transportation, providing for the resurfacing of Patterson Avenue from United States Highway 90 to State Road 100A, and providing for an effective date period.
Mr. Warren, that's the one you want to speak to?
Mr. Mayor, Sylvester Warren, 930 Northeast Joe Coney. I just want to go on record to say that I'm just disappointed and continue to be disappointed that for some reason, there's always some hesitation, there's always some push or some fight when it comes to the north end of Lake City, which is the predominantly Black community, that we have to force yourself and different ones to do what's right in this community. This sat on your email since way back in August. It wasn't until Mr. Bowden did a public records request. It wasn't until I outed you and Mr. Jefferson on social media that y'all took notice and began to address paving this road. This road has been a mess for the past 15, 20 years. And the way that you all go about doing business when it comes to north of town, it needs to stop, Mayor. I should not have to go to Facebook to make you answer your emails and to address paving the road in the predominantly Black community. No other road has to go through this. Thank you.
I was aware of the email, it's just.
You said the thing from 13, you the lady said it. You want me to read your email, her email to you? What she said you want to respond to her. That's FDOT, man.
I know. Is there a motion that the city council resolution 2021-137?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution number 2021-137.
Second.
Been a motion and a second, any discussion by council? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mayor Webb?
Yes. Next, city council resolution 2021-138. Mr. Caroline, you read that by title.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing the execution of an agreement with the North Central Florida Regional Planning Council, providing for the receipt of comprehensive planning services, providing for compensation not to exceed $23,500.00, and providing for an effective date period.
Is there a motion that the city council resolution 2021-138?
Mr. Mayor, I move for the approval of resolution number 2021-138.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second, any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I have some questions about this. So reading through this package and looking at what they provide, I notice there's not a time element involved. Mr. Young might have I don't know if we need to ask him this question, but it looks like certain things are going to be doing for us, but the timeliness of their completion is unsatisfactory. And I think we should communicate that to them, that we expect to get things back a little bit quicker than what they're providing it, because it really slows down on the annexations and the different changes made to code when we don't hear back. I mean, are they still handling the tiny home item we send them? I don't know where we're at in the process, but it seems like this particular vendor is a holdup. So, I mean, I think we have to move forward, because it looks like they're the only vendor that does this. But the problem is, we need to hold them accountable and let them know that if they don't provide us the service required, that we're going to be done with this deal, and we'll figure it out on our own.
Any comment? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill? Mayor Webb?
Yes. Okay, next, the city council resolution 2021-139. Mr. Caroline, you read that by title.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, reappointing Steve Brown as the director to serve on the Florida Gas Utility Board of Directors on behalf of the city, and reappointing Paul Dow, Executive Director of Utilities, as an alternate director in the absence of Steve Brown, providing for the repeal of all prior resolutions in conflict with this resolution, and providing for an effective date period.
Is there a motion that the city council resolution 2021-139?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve resolution 2021-139.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mayor Webb?
Yes. Next is city council resolution 2021-140. Mr. Caroline, would you read that by title?
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Lake City, Florida, authorizing execution of the American Rescue Plan Act Coronavirus Local Fiscal Recovery Fund Agreement with the State of Florida Division of Emergency Management, providing for the receipt of fiscal recovery funds in the amount of $6,186,544.00, providing for the reimbursement of certain expenses incurred due to the COVID-19 public health emergency in accordance with the limitations prescribed in the Act, providing for conflicts, and providing for an effective date period.
Is there a motion that the city council resolution 2021-140? I didn't have it on that, but if you want to speak.
So that's the 930 in Northeast Oconee. Mr. Mayor, I think that this American Recovery Plan money, there's a certain way that we watch the county allocate this money once they get it. I think there's going to be a 50% deposit of this money, so you don't get it all up front. I think you get about half of it, which comes to about $3.5 million. $3 million and some change, I'm sorry. And I'm just curious as to whether or not we're going to be smart enough and be good stewards not lack any fiduciary responsibility, have a workshop, communicate to the public as to what we're gonna do with this kind of money. Because there's a lot of good things can be done. I just don't want, to see this money, squandered in some type of way. I think we only get one bite at the apple with this kind of money coming in from the federal government. And, for sure, I'm gonna have my eyes on it and hold you accountable and this council accountable to how we spend it in ways that make sense, back to the community as a whole. Is that something that you all are opposed to doing or something you're in favor of doing, is holding a workshop and discussing as we bring the money in as to how we're gonna spend it? Or do we already have pre-plans for it?
I don't, I'm willing to do a workshop on
Thank you, ma'am.
it. Okay? Is there a motion as to City Council Resolution 2021-140?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion for approval of City Council Resolution 2021-140.
Is there any discussion by council?
Do we know the expected time frame for the first, part to come in?
And then later it's gonna come, it'll come after we get all of that paperwork signed and sent out. So, when I spoke with them, they said that it would probably be anywhere from 10 days to 2 weeks. So since it's gonna fall so close to the end of the fiscal year, I don't wanna do anything until it's close enough to the fiscal year that we don't receive it this year. It's a problem about carrying it over, so, we'll do it so that we get it close to the end, sometime probably in October. So,
Yeah. Ms. Sykes, we call the roll, please.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mayor Witten?
Yes. Next is item 17, Council Resolution 2021-141. Mr. Carolina, to read that by title.
A resolution of City Council of City Lake City, Florida, authorizing the write-off of delinquent utility accounts through September 30th, 2019, finding the delinquent utility accounts to be uncollectible and providing an effective date, period.
Is there a motion as City Council Resolution 2021-141?
Mr. Mayor, move to approve resolution number 2021-140.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, so when we charge these accounts off, is there an ability to collect on any of them? I mean, I see different businesses and, I know the ones with bankruptcy have certain rules, but can we monetize this, sell it off and let someone else collect it? Is that a possibility? Is there?
I know we leave it on the, even though we write it off, they can't come back and get an account without paying it. I think at times we have used collections. Are we doing that now?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, there's 3 that were on that list that we actually got.
Okay, so these are still being collected.
It's more of a,
And we do have a collection agency that's doing some of that.
it's more of an accounting process than it is.
That's right. There's a time frame. So I have another question for.
Sure.
So on that, when we recover, where do we put the revenue back in? Does it go back into
It goes back
into
to-
recovery? Okay,
It's recovery against the,
thank you.
All right,
Mr. Mayor,
yes,
I think you answered my question, but, one of the questions I had, or concerns I had, these individuals with the, that are listed on the delinquent account, is it possible that they can move to a different location and open up another account?
not under their name.
So that would not happen.
What we try to do is get sufficient enough information that come in as, as a customer, so that we can somehow track them down. And that's why we also.
For those online that couldn't hear Ms. Duncan, basically, we do try to do collections. The write-off is more of an accounting process, and we try to get enough information that they can't come back in and get another account. Okay, next is,
I need to call roll. Sorry, you ready?
yes,
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mayor Witten?
yes. Thank you. Next is emergency item, City Council Resolution 2021-142. Mr. Carolina, can you read that by title?
Your Honor, I'm not sure if that resolution is applicable any longer. That resolution was written late last week when we were advised that there needed to be an emergency purchase. Today, we've been advised that the purchase authorized by the city manager Fields needs to be ratified. However, all I see is an email from Ms. Fields to procurement. So I don't know if the purchase has been, if any purchase documentation has been executed. So I don't know if we're ratifying or if we are actually procuring. Mr. Young sent the request to us, either he or Ms. Nelms may be able to clarify that for us. But right now, the contract that is in the agreement, it is substantially different than what the vendor is requesting. For example, the term of the contract is for 30 days, and the contractor would be paid as work is performed. But today, the contractor requested a down payment of half the actual cost. So we're either going to do a oral motion approving and ratifying a previous purchase, or we're going to actually authorize the purchase. I don't know which one.
But we do need to do something forward.
If we ratify what we have in the agenda packet, if we approve what we have in the agenda packet, we already know that the contractor is asking for something different when it comes to compensation. For example, what we have in the agenda packet and the resolution you asked me to read states that the vendor would be paid through one invoice for a total amount of $34,292.35 at the end of the project. And the project would be done within 30 days. What we received today through procurement is a request for half that money down before the services start, and they plan on starting this Friday.
But the total amount would be the same.
As far as I know.
Okay. What's the pleasure of council?
Do we know why they changed from wanting it at the end of completion to wanting half down?
I don't.
Does Mr. Young have any information on this?
Mr. Young, you?
Yes, sir. They're like any other company right now. They have obligations that they have to meet also. That's why they're asking for half upfront on the beginning, and then the second half when they're finished, so they can pay for their supplies and everything that they're gonna need for this project.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
So on the contract, the newest documentation for the half down, they're scheduled to begin on the 24th and continue the week of the 27th. So will they complete the week of the 27th, or?
That's my understanding, yes, sir. They are putting in this Friday, they're gonna seal off the atrium from the rest of the building, and they're gonna put in the air scrubbers. They're gonna have to let those run. And then they come in and start the process of removing the mold, having to open up the walls, remove insulation if it's moldy, the whole 9 yards.
So this is, the way I read this, it's just for mold remediation. This isn't to repair or replace anything once the mold's removed.
Correct.
Okay. So I noticed the mold's getting worse down there, so
Yes, sir.
we need to do something.
Right.
I mean, we've got to remove the mold. I think whether we pay them half down or not, I think I would go with that, since that's the form they presented. I don't know where this other information came from. Did they send us two different forms, or?
They sent the other form via Karen with procurement.
Okay, so I'd make a motion that we would accept this instead of the resolution, that we would go with the half-down plan to start on Friday that we were provided in this authorization to perform services and direction of payment.
Is there a second? Been a motion and a second. Any discussion by council?
Mr. Mayor, so I know we have to fix this because we can't let the mole keep growing, but I don't see this as a need for us to move the utility payment center back here. I think we need to know where we're at from the direction of the workshop on getting those cashiers over into the new city hall. So I think that would be crucial. I think they're pretty close on what they need to do. But I don't think just because we mitigate this mold, because there's going to be holes in the drywall, there's going to be stuff that if we want them to come back here is going to could be extensive repair. Who knows what all they're going to find behind that drywall? But I just wanted to make that comment about being prepared to move into the new city hall with the collections.
Anything? Ms. Sykes, you call the roll, please.
May I ask Fred a question? Fred, are we going to use the same resolution to just replace the documents?
We can revise the resolution and reference the documents that they provided today rather than the documents that were prepared last week.
Is that okay, Mr. Sampson? Okay, Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Okay, we've already taken care of item 19, we're moving to item 20. Discussion of possible action filling the vacancy of council member for city council district 14. Mr. Bowden and Mr. Warden want to speak. Mr. Bowden, you want to speak?
Mr. Mayor, I just want to make one observation. I don't remember Councilman Noah who resigned at the time I was on the city council, but I know the city council at that time moved pretty expeditiously to fill the position. You can imagine the dilemma you can find yourself in with 4 people and 2 votes, nothing happened. So my suggestion would be for you to be as fair about the process as possible can and be as expeditious as you can. I would hope that it should have its fill with the 30 days, not use the whole system.
I'm good. Okay. As far as the council, I looked at the timetable and I think, the resignation was on September the 9th. So we're looking at roughly the first week of November. I do want to be fair and open with it. I want as many applications as people are interested in that position. I was kind of looking at the calendar, thinking sometime middle of September, if we had the applications in, we could maybe do some interviews and some week, maybe the week of the 20th. So I'm just throwing dates out there. I'm good moving them either way. Anybody got any better suggestions?
I'll have a conflict that week. I won't be here, but yeah, I think I think we need to move pretty quickly. I think if we go by the charter and if we had the same application process for candidates that are interested, other than, of course, the signatures, because we're not going to do that. But then I think we should require a written statement of interest and qualifications. Just why are you interested in your eyes? Why are you qualified? I think that'd help in the decision making. I don't like us being the decision maker for who sits in that seat. I wish the charter allowed for us to have an election because that's what should happen. But it doesn't. I do think we need to address that in the charter going forward so that the next time this happens, it's not on the council to decide who's on the council with them. I think that's a poor way to make that decision. But dealing the hand we're dealt with, I think if we could go ahead and get the application like everybody fills out when they're going to start anyways. I don't know, do they have to do a Form 1 in advance?
That's part of your qualifying paperwork.
Yeah, so the qualifying, I would think.
They sign is the DSD 9, which is your appointment of campaign treasurer. And then usually I have them sign the residency affidavit, proving that they are a resident. And then I get a copy of their voter ID card to prove that they are a qualified voter.
When did you say you'd be out?
Right after our meeting, the 18th.
So the rest of that week, say the
Yep.
week of the 25th.
Or we could do it the week before that too. I mean, we could.
Okay, if we had the deadline, say, the 8th, and then did, that one day that week, I could do it either Wednesday afternoon, Thursday night. It'll be later. After 3 or 4.
What are those days meant?
I could, if we did October the 8th, I could do, Wednesday afternoon.
You're right, Wednesday the 13th?
Yeah.
For interviews? Is that gonna give you guys enough time to review applications if we do on the 8th? That's only gonna give you,
5 days.
are okay with that? Okay. Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay, so we need to get the notice out. The applications will be due by the October the 8th, which is, let's see,
Friday.
2 weeks.
1, 2, 3 weeks, roughly 3 weeks. And it's been out there for a while, so it's nothing. We can say, hey, we can. And then for the interviews on the 13th, just start that afternoon. I'll just block off the afternoon, and that way if we have 3 or 4, we have time to do it. 1 or 2.
They'll start like, say, 1 o'clock or?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Application, pick up to the hall, I guess I need to understand what the process.
I'm fixing to ask them exactly what I'm supposed to collect from them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have lots of questions too. What exactly are you wanting people to turn into me as far as an application? Are you asking for a resume or are you asking for, I need you to be very specific as what I'm supposed to be collecting.
I would say a written statement of interest / qualifications, whatever your interest, why are you interested in the position and what do you feel your qualifications are? I mean, I don't know that a resume goes too far.
Okay.
No more than 2 pages. Let's try and limit that down if we only got 5 days.
Right.
And they also need to, how do you feel about the residency affidavit? How do you feel about the residency affidavit, having them sign a residency affidavit?
I think the charter requires it.
Mr. Bynum, were you on the council when they had it when George Ward got on? There was an interview process. I think that's the last one I remember.
No, I wouldn't, yeah, when George Ward got off, I think it was either Magno or, it wasn't George Ward. But just so you know, I think, Ms. Saxon may remember that we did an application process. That's how Ms. Lane got appointed to the council first time. Had someone wait. It was an application process, but it was kind of like what Mr. Sampson said, it wasn't a formal application. It was like, I'm interested, and this is what I bring to the table. You know,
Right.
and he said, I want to you know, I'm circle this, I'm circle that, you know, that kind of thing. We did it pretty quickly too. Wrong thing. We have no resume and all that. You know, I don't think that's necessary. I think statement of interest and, you know, residence requirement, obviously. Totally required to do it. Yeah, you don't have no choice in that. My concern is to do it fairly quick, you know,
Right.
not just do it.
And I guess, like you were talking about filling out the necessary residency and the, thing with the supervisor elections.
Well, the form of the supervisor of elections, that would have been the, that would be the Form 1 financials.
Yeah,
But that's
yeah.
a little bit later.
Okay.
And I mean, if you're requiring it now, I guess that's up to you if you're requiring it now, but that is one of the qualifying documents that if someone was in the election process during the qualifying period, that's one of several documents that
Would we want to be that detailed that early or?
that is definitely a council decision. I'm going to be looking at if they're a qualified voter, I'm going to be looking at the residency and then the written statement of interest.
I think the written statement of interest, and as long as we have enough information that to qualify.
Okay,
Mayor, I want to make sure we're clear. I believe that I did speak to one council member within the past week or two and mentioned the residency requirement. The residency requirement in the charter, and it has been cleared up with my office, it applies to an election. For example, Section 301 states that qualified voters who have resided in the city for a minimum of 1 year prior to qualifying as a candidate for election to a seat on the city council. So that is an election. A person could, by law, reside in the district for less than a year and still be appointed. That does not preclude the council from saying and making it a qualification now that whoever you're going to appoint needs to have a minimum of 1 year in their district. But I want to make sure that we're clear that the charter does not require it for an appointment. It requires it to be on the ballot for an election.
Okay.
So if you'd like to have a 1 year minimum, you're welcome to, that's certainly at your pleasure and your discretion.
Well, it's the pleasure of council.
I'm in favor of that 1 year minimum because I don't think it would be fair to the citizens for a newcomer to come in that haven't been living in that district and possibly can wind up being a representative for that district. So I think there need to be a minimum of 1 year residency in that district. That's my way of thinking.
The elections will be coming pretty quick anyway, so.
Qualifying's in March, June, August, yes.
start one pack about January.
But Steve,
Thank you very much, Columbia County Observer. I have one question. It says applications are due on October 8th. That's the end of business on October 8th. I know you've had that problem before. So October 8th would be at the close of business or?
right,
Is that right? Okay, and the charter doesn't say really require anything for the appointment. All those are up to you. Are you gonna approve this by motion so everybody's on the same page? Now, for exactly, applications are due at the end of October 8th. That in order to qualify, a person has to live in the district for a year. And that the qualifications will be concurrent with the clerk, I guess, right? Making sure that the person is
Right.
qualified in that district. Is that correct? Are you gonna, thank you very much. You've answered my question.
so is there a motion to follow that procedure?
Mayor,
Yeah.
I understand your correction as to October 8th. You did state due by October 8th. The administration does need time to get these things to you if you want them
Ooh, yeah,
on, before the weekend.
right,
So when you say due by October 8th, I'm thinking that's either midnight of October 7th or it's close of business October 7th. That gives the clerk's office 1 day to get things to you and get them to you. If you want it on or before the expiration of October 8th, then you're looking at seeing it on Monday.
Mr. Mayor, could we make the deadline for the application be close of business on October 7th? I would like to get them before the weekend. That is a short lead time.
I would do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So you want to make that motion?
yeah, I'd make that a motion
To adopt the
and to adopt the other things we just talked about.
second.
I second it.
Okay, been a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Any fees associated with this appointment, if there are, I would suggest that we waive those fees.
I don't think there would be any,
no, I'm not aware of any fees. We don't have any, I'm not collecting any. We're not doing petitions, none of that's valid, yeah.
All right.
Mayor,
And with that, next is discussion.
Mayor. I did not call roll. I'm sorry, I do have one more question. Are we gonna talk about the process in which you're going to rank them, or you want to do that at a later date?
let's do that at the next meeting.
Okay,
That gives us time to, we kind of know the time frame now, and I think we need to put that on the agenda for the next meeting, which would be For the vote. I think that'd be plenty of time.
Okay, Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
And Mayor Witt?
Okay. Next is item 21, discussion of possible action on Memorial Stadium, Mr. Sampson.
Yeah, we got some information back today. I don't know, Mr. Young, if you wanted to make a comment on that. The bid to do the engineering report.
Yes, sir. We do have, Mr. Bishop here with, North Florida Professional Services to answer any questions that you may have on it. He would be more adept at answering those questions than I would be.
Oh, very good. I have a couple just minor questions. I saw the time frame. Thanks for coming. I saw the time frame and what you need as far as that goes. As far as the structure itself, I read the letter previously. The structure is not going to fall down.
No.
But I know in the letter it went a little short of saying we could utilize it currently. And
The letter that I wrote last Monday, the email that I sent to the interim city manager at that time was there's no reason you can't use the fields. You just need to have the stadiums secure where nobody can get up in the stands. But there's no reason not to use the fields.
would it be possible, in your opinion, to use the buildings underneath the stands?
No.
Okay.
No, I think the problem that you have, there's nothing, the buildings underneath, from what we have looked at, I was out there on Monday and I was out there again on Thursday. All of those buildings underneath appear to be freestanding, not tied to the stadium. But my concern is if you allow people to have access to that general area, then you'll have a policing issue of keeping them out of the stands. So it's in my opinion, it's best not to allow them in those areas at all to prevent any potential safety concerns of them getting in the stand.
Yes, very good.
Anybody have any questions?
I was going to ask a question about the, if, now North Florida already we already have a contract with them, is that correct?
Yes, we have a continuing contract. This could be issued as a task assignment to that continuing contract. We could have that task assignment done within just a couple of business days. It could come back to you, but it could be, if you authorize the execution of a task assignment at this financial figure in the scope of work tonight, then the mayor could sign it later this week. It could come back to you for the resolution being accepted.
And I did provide a task order pending Mr. Kovaline's review and approval, just kind of our standard task work order that we use for other counties, municipalities, things like that. And it referenced the actual proposal and what was outlined in that scope there.
Very good. Thank you. Also, in addition to that, I know I had asked for some information on pricing for bleachers and for portable restrooms. I'm not so sure that we need to build that restroom yet. I believe that there's some improvements that are going to be done to the bathrooms that are in place with staff on hand, forced labor. And I think there's already been some plumbing done out there to the bathroom. Is that correct?
There's been some, water out there at the restroom. In your packet, you should have got the aluminum bleachers. These are the 4-row aluminum bleachers. Go with 2 or 3 of them. They're $922 each.
David, did you happen to pull a price on the ones that are similar to the 2 they have there now?
The ones they have there now, those are the ones that the association took. I don't think they brought them back yet.
They're there.
They're there. I'm trying to remember how many tiers they are. I think they were only looking at 4-row maybe two of them would probably handle. Most everybody brings lawn chairs and stuff. Wait, at least they did when I had my kids, grandsons.
Would these be mobile so we could use them for other events in the future?
Yes, sir.
Is the cost including delivery?
Yes.
They already put together, they have to be
No, they
assembled.
have to be assembled. We would have to assemble them. That's not part of it. They will deliver them. But we have to assemble. Now, that was with this vendor. I looked at 2 or 3 other vendors. The prices are a little higher, but they put them together.
What's the time frame to get these in if we order them?
That was the one thing they couldn't give me was how long it would take them. They said they would be all ready to put in. Then they would look at what they're going to have time-wise in order to get the material.
So unless we put in an order, they wasn't able to tell us.
They won't even tell us because one, then that would tell them how much material they're going to have to get. They might have 1 or 2 on hand at the time we order. They don't know.
Well, that kind of makes sense. If you come back and say you want 50 of them, they might not have 50.
Yeah.
But 1 or 2 they might have.
Yeah.
I would think the first thing, I think we'll need a little more seating in the interim. I know at the time frame that we have this, report roughly be done in a month and a half. So I think we would at least need them for that period of time.
And I think we can get them in before that time period, but I need to make sure with the vendors.
Could we condition our purchase based on when they can deliver them?
Yes, sir.
See,
I go vendor to vendor to find out if you get it.
yeah, I think so, because if they can't deliver them timely to use it now,
I figured the 2 that the association has, and then the 2 that we give full bleachers for out there. They could be utilized.
so this was the cheapest price, or you said there was some a little more?
Yes, sir. This was about the cheapest that I found. The quicker you want them, the more complete on the order being put together. To ship them is cost goes up.
Mr. Mayor, I wasn't gonna mention or talk about the other restroom at this time. They got some information there, but I don't think we have any pricing on that yet.
No, sir. They have not returned my calls. I was able to download this online. So to give you an example, this is just strictly a restroom. It's a 2 water closets on the women's side, 1 water closet, 1 urinal on the men's side. This is for the prefab building, which comes put together. It's set with a frame. We have to supply the slab that it sets on, and we also have to supply the plumbing that is stubbed up for it.
I think that part of the discussion comes after we get the report to see what we can do, because if we can use the current facility and if Brian's team can make the bathrooms acceptable to be used, which I think they can, then we may not need this at that point. But then if it comes back and says, for whatever reason, we cannot use the bleachers, then we'd have a different discussion about whether or not we wanted to do something like this, because it's going to be quite an investment. So I would want to make 2 motions related to this, and then if we get a second, we can discuss them. But the first, I would like to allocate up to $3,000 for the purchase of the bleachers. That leaves a little wiggle room in the purchase amount. So in case it's a little more than the 900, and I'd like to make that motion first.
So,
Got a motion and a second. Discussion on that.
Funding source?
I'd like to use the, Donna, the CARES Act funds, where do we allocate those in the budget? Is it in contingency still? I'd like to move that from the contingency.
Further discussion by council? Secretary call the roll.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
yes.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mayor Whit?
Yes.
Okay, and the second motion I'd like to make is on the task assignment to engage for the inspection of the stadium. And I would like this to be made so that I know you mentioned that there was a way to make this proposal so the mayor could go ahead and sign it this week so we could get started. I'd like to make the motion for this task assignment for that, and I would like to also take these funds from the contingency in the amount to cover this report.
Okay, Mr. Warren is going to speak on this. Did you want to speak before we voted?
Sylvester 930 Northeast Oconee. What y'all decide to do with Memorial Stadium, strictly up to you guys. I think that it's been past time for you all to make some investment in the property that you all own. It's been past time for y'all to do a whole lot of things when it comes to kid and recreations. I'm getting phone calls now that we got some dead young person on the west side of town. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but my phone is blowing up pretty heavily. I will say this, is that we're gonna start digging in COVID money. We're gonna start going that contingent funds. I think that we need to also use it, not only for Memorial Stadium, but it's time to start making an investment, not only in Memorial Stadium, but it's time to start making an investment in North Downtown Marion Street. So let's be fair with the funds. That's what I've always been about. That's what I've always fought about. If we're gonna start spending funds, that we spend funds fairly and equally. I think that for years and years, me and several people have been coming up to this council meeting asking for small things to fix up North Marion Street, to begin to bring beautification, renovation, and some type of commercial district to North Marion Street. And if we can go into COVID money, I think it's what, $810,000 that may be in there.
There was 888,000 and 250,000 is actually committed in the budget for a couple of roads that they wanted done.
So
it's whatever that difference is. Now, that's in next year's budget. Depends on at what point all of that can get done. Otherwise, it would fall into next year, because if they don't complete the project in the current year, then it would just come out of part of those funds for the current year.
So we're playing with somewhere roughly around $630,000. So our $630,000, I think that's enough money between that and some of the remaining money in the CRA funds, I think, to begin to move the North Marion Street project along. I just don't think that we start doing things on one end and not doing things on the other end. I just can't find how anybody would find that to be fair when we've been asking for things to be different on North Marion Street in the predominant Black community for years now. And anything and everything that we've asked this council to do North Marion Street in the predominant Black community, we've either had to protest you to get it done, we had to file lawsuits, and it's just been a fight. It's just been a fight, man. And when will we stop fighting? I mean, we've had to fight to get out of slavery. We had to fight to get through Jim Crow. We had to fight to get through civil rights. And it's 2021. We're still fighting. I mean, we're taxpayers. I mean, we pay the same millage rate as everybody else in the predominant Black community. We should not have to fight for funds to be allocated to our community. And this is becoming over tiresome. And we just need to do the right thing here.
Yeah. Ms. Sylvester, you been looking at my notes? I'd like to add a little to what Mr. Warren has said. I believe the children are our future. I fought to keep the boys club and the girls club open, and didn't have enough support from the council to do so. Now, excuse me, there's an issue with Memorial Stadium. Memorial Stadium is in my district. With and Mr. Sampson at the workshop, he made, a statement about spending some of the COVID funds for Memorial Stadium. So I make the motion that some of those funds be spent on Memorial Stadium, which is in my district, the north end of Lake City. Let's see, let me see where I'm at on my notes.
We already have a motion on the floor.
Yeah, you got a motion already, but
Go ahead. Well, I'll pick it up.
now your motion was to do the $27,000.
And the task assignment added on so that you can go ahead and sign it.
We get
Yeah,
a second on it?
No, may I go ahead and read it back so we know?
Sure.
Okay. A motion to authorize a task order for engineering services with North Florida Professional Services in the amount of $27,214 for Memorial Stadium. The funding source identified is contingency. And I have a motion and I do not have a second.
Second.
Now, motion and a second, any discussion? I think we need to find out what all is going on about Memorial Stadium got in that condition right at the last minute. Where you can't with all these kids. And now we need to get organized and find out what's going on with our community and our resources. Ms. Ice, you call the roll, please.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mayor Webb?
Yes. Okay.
And then I think Mr. Hill had a,
Yes. And also, back to the kids. I was trying to work with the George Foundation and Happy House on the Girls Club. By me doing that, ethics charges filed against me for trying to do something for the kids. Like I said, we can find money to throwing that money pit across the street, but we can't find money for the kids. It's something wrong with that picture. And I am a full supporter of the kids. And I hope my fellow councilmen would help me to support me in taking some of these funds to beautify North Marion Street, wherever it is needed for its, the money being spread equally. And that's all I have to say on that issue.
You started to make a motion when there was one, but you're saying going forward, we need to look into all that.
Yes.
Okay. That's all on that.
That's all I had on that.
Where are we, with the, CRA and the beautification of North Downtown? Where are we in that process? I know we discussed it last time, but I just don't want it to get kicked down the road. Where are we with that process?
I don't know that we've had another meeting, so it's where it was last time, but we need to move forward with it.
I got a question about that when we get to the discussion. I was wondering if we found out about the 200,000 commitment or not. So, but I know there's still things on the agenda, so I was gonna have that for comments.
Okay, next is item 22, discussion of possible action of State Road 47, I-75 groundbreaking ceremony scheduled for Wednesday, October the 6th,
Yeah,
1 o'clock.
yeah, so we have tentatively scheduled the groundbreaking ceremony for October 6th, Wednesday, 1 p.m. for 4775 groundbreaking. That's gonna be at the lift station there on Ring Court. And I don't know, since it's gonna be everyone attending, do we need to notice that?
we can put it in the paper if you want to, but it's just an event.
Okay, so it's gonna be then.
I think I heard Ms. Sykes say that because it's an event, you don't have to notice it. So long as there's not gonna be a discussion on foreseeable items that come from the council.
Anything else on that? Everybody be there. Discussion of possible action, fire department staffing. It got.
Good evening. I just wanted to present to you a request for a motion to authorize a reclassification of the 4 reservist positions that are unpaid and change those to part-time positions. I provided you the position schedule from our budget. Just shows those 4 positions down there that are unpaid. What we've run into is with the COVID outbreak, we got into a situation where we were having to force overtime, mandatory people. A lot of our personnel have second jobs, take care of their kids on their days off or whatever. But we got so short-staffed that we had to mandatory people overtime. And what that's causing is it's pushed our overtime budget from 25,000, what we budgeted last year, we're at 51,000 right now. So this year we've proposed $35,000, but if we can make those 4 positions part-time positions, I can reduce that cost and not have to pay the overtime. I can pay a flat rate.
Anybody got any questions?
How's it going with people returning to work? Are we still have quite a few out, or?
We do, but I'm down 3 positions right now with the chief. I have a lieutenant out. I had a guy resign. So we're down 3 positions, which takes away from each shift. So it limits who can be off on vacation or whatever. So we, it has increased the overtime a little bit. But what this will do, I can utilize some of those guys that have gone to other station or other departments that are familiar with our department. I don't have to train them, retrain them. They're already familiar with the way we run things. They can step right in and be called. Now, there was a question on the union contract as to how that would affect them. They would still have first right, so they would get called first. If it goes through the list and nobody accepts it through the union, then we would utilize the part-time person. So we wouldn't have to force or mandatory any of it.
Mr. Mayor, I'd request a motion to authorize, or I would make a motion to authorize the reclassification of the 4 reservist unpaid positions to 4 part-time positions.
Motion is second.
I second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I think it's a great idea, a way to make things happen right now, and I know y'all have had a rough time, so appreciate y'all. Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Mayor Witt, we need to readdress number 19, Mr. Williams' agreement. There needs to be an instruction for the police department to handle the background review. The HR policy requires everyone, including the city manager, to fill out an employment application. That employment application under the HR policy would be reviewed by department directors and HR. If you're asking for a more intensive background screening, then you need to instruct the police department to handle that rather than HR. HR and the department directors will only review, according to the personnel policy, what is actually on the employment application.
I think the police department's ready to go on it. Get it cleared up.
But you would have a motion on that to, so that we have a formal
motion for the police.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion for the police department to do the background check.
I second.
Motion and second. Discussion. Ms. Sykes, will you call the roll?
Is he also to fill out an application as well? Did I understand that?
Yes, all employees are required to under the HR manual.
Okay. Mr. Sampson?
Yes.
Mr. Jefferson?
Yes.
Mr. Hill?
Yes.
Mayor Witt?
Yes. Okay, now we're down to comments of council. There is a meeting tomorrow night at the college at 6 o'clock, meeting of city, county, and college. Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor, I have a couple comments. First, at the second meeting in October, we are going to be having the second hearing on the COVID CDBG grant for the Richardson Community Center. It's $5.1 million. I think that would be a good time for people to turn out. There's a lot of infrastructure being repaired there. It's going to be kind of crucial that we move forward with that grant. Second to that, the CRA funds. So at the last meeting, we heard about 200,000 committed, and we agreed to that. Do we know where we are in those fund balances now after that?
Balance hasn't changed since the last time we spoke. We can't hear you.
Yeah.
Pull the microphone up, but actually,
What?
we pull the microphone up.
No.
72
I'll
days.
get
Okay.
Balance in the account has not really changed since last time we spoke, which was around $290,000 thereabouts. So, the only question is that, I think in the last meeting, I think Ms. Roberts came up and said that she would forgo, the project she was doing right now in order to make the $200,000 happen. So that's just up to you about what you want to do.
So we committed the 200,000 at the last meeting, I believe. So that's gonna leave 90,000 in that account? Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
I did not forego it.
I'm not saying you would forego it. You just said temporarily until such time as you can decide what needs to be done with the $200,000, right?
Right.
But I understood that he wanted 100,000 this year and 100,000 next year.
Yes.
We need to, Mr. Chambers, anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Anybody else?
Yes, again, we've had a shooting in our park. Maybe 2 weeks ago, we had a young man lost his life over at Young's Park. Our police head, again, I'm disappointed. Seem like I'm the only one that see that she's not doing her job. So I'm going to make the motion that we try to come up with some funds from somewhere to put some cameras in our parks where the kids will be safe and their parents. Because the police department, I'm not too impressed with them. So I'm asking my fellow councilmen to try to come up with some funds from somewhere to put some video cameras in the parks.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
I think the chief wants to address this.
Yes.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, the cameras may be a good idea. That may be helpful in the park. Priced out and let's see, I think that if it could even save one person, is it worthwhile? I don't know the legality of the cameras or how that works, but.
Opportunity to speak today. I do have about 7 minutes, Mayor. 7 minutes.
Yeah.
You pass that out for me, please. Also have a PowerPoint for you to look on the crime rate statistics update. That's been going to them. The clicker?
Yes, ma'am.
So I've often been hearing about crime statistics and love to have a sit-down discussion about where we are and what is happening. Which one is it? One in the middle?
No, the left side, left and right, ma'am.
Give them one and sure. Thank you very much. Very happy to be the police chief of the city of Lake City. Very happy to serve the citizens of Lake City. And not only that, I'm just ecstatic about our officers who get up every morning and ensure that our city is safe. And I thank you so much for the funds to make that happen. So 7 minutes, I'm gonna count down time. With that, I'm gonna start with, which one?
Yeah, you gotta have comments out there, right? Keep it to those 7 minutes. Only gonna hear.
We'll have you tell me, yes.
This one?
Forward backwards.
Okay. And they're strictly data. And I think I have some extras there for you to see that. That's kind of difficult for everybody to see. Unified Crime Report data, that's 2019. I won't go through that because that is the year before. But if you also can see, there you go. No. Sorry, that's it right there. 2019, 2020, if you can look at that, I want to highlight a couple of things that we have here because I can barely see that. So I'm going to talk about it here. If you can look at the crime index, you have the murder, the rape, and the robbery going on there. So I won't go through all of that. But I do want to call your attention to, there were 32 increased crimes in the violent offense report from 2019 to 2020. That's 32 increase in the violent offense total. Also, the robbery, you will see those numbers as well. If you look at, I'm jumping down because I don't have time to go through all of it because I think you'll allow me to walk on. The motor vehicle theft, you will see that 13 and 39, 200. That was because of one of our car lot places that were there. We do have our criminal investigators here as well that can give you the information on that. And they have certainly already put something in place as well in terms of minimizing this. So I won't go through all that, but I do want to call your attention to the clearance rate. Even though with the being short, and great, thank God we're coming down on that. We've been hiring people, so I'm grateful for that. Those officers have been working extremely hard to have clearance. Clearance means where there's arrest, prosecution has happened, or we have filed it with the court. 34% that we have been closing our cases on, 36. And when there's 25% is for the state, but I'm moving on. Well, someone just mentioned something about the shooting incidents. We have not found a victim yet. All right, we heard about a shooting occurred. Somebody ran, I think the sheriff department may be out with them now and tracking, but we do not have a victim that I know of at this point based on the status report that I have there. All right. And the shooting incidents from January 2021 to present, you can see where most of the shooting occurred there. All right, so from January 2021 to present, if you look on this page, go to the next page, we've had 101 total responding to calls of shots fired. All right, 31 were verified. Only 70, not only, 70 no evidence to support or disprove use of firearm. What does that mean? Someone called and said that they heard shots fired, we gotta go. It could have been a shot, someone who the car backed up or whatever. So when we go there, there's nothing to verify that, but 31 out of the 101. 24 firearms discovered through investigation, drug related. If it's not drug related, traffic stop or something like that. So that's what we've had there with the firearms that we found in here. No, I don't have time to go through all of this and bring up the offense reports and talk about them. We'd love to do that. Let's talk about the shooting incidents also from January 2021 to present. Homicide, we've had 2. People shot, 16. Out of that, 3 cooperated with law enforcement. I can remember one incident, we had a gentleman with 2 bullet holes inside of him, right? We were waiting for the ambulance to get there, and it still would not tell us who did it. And he knew who did that and did not tell us. Charges involving firearms, charges filed on arrest are made. We've done 25 of that. Arrest for possession of firearm by convicted felons, 5. Ag assault with the firearm displayed, 17. Let's go to the next page and look at the demographics. I'm sorry, I'm not moving this like I should. I'm sorry, that's what was there that I just went over with you. When we respond, if a person says, I heard shots fired, that's the way we have to capture that data. That's the way we have to capture that data. All right, let me go to the next here. I just told you about that ag assault with firearm displayed, 17. And I also told you that many people have been shot in our city from January to the present time. And that's something when we can see only 3 people will tell us who shot them. Let's look at that. Those are the demographics. Suspects arrested in these cases, you will see 4 white males, 12 black males, 1 white female, black female, 1. The victims in these cases, you will see 8 white males, 9 black males, 5 white females, and you will see 11 black females. These are the violent crimes that have been happening in our city. You can see the location and how they're spread out. Let me tell you exactly the kinds of violent crimes that we're capturing for you to look at. Discharging firearms, sexual battery, person shot, person cut, burglary, and battery. That's what we have in our city. All right, all crimes in our city. You can look at all crimes from January 1 to today's date. Those are the crimes throughout our city, and that encompasses a lot. We'll again love to sit down and have discussion about data and how we deploy what we're doing. All right, and here's the closing that I have here today. We have Operation Ceasefire. That is in operation right now. We have law enforcement strategies that we cannot talk about, but I can tell you today, we're dealing with these crimes that are in our city, visibility and enforcement. No, we do not share all of our operational plans. Community engagement, our first meeting that we had was 9/2/21. Several citizens and the school came and asked, what can we do? And so we've been working with that group, had a meeting with that group, and they've asked, how could they help? What I would like for that group to do is to come and talk to the city council as well. I appreciate when citizens stand up and say, what can we do to help? Because it does help us a lot. And of course, the data deployment solutions as well. All right, these are burglaries that we've had happening in our city. You can see that, the closing and the rest that we made there. That's for your viewing as well. And certified one, we'll talk about our vacancies. Actually, we're gonna have about 6 now. We just did the hire this week. Telecommunication officers, we got 3 vacancies, breakfast clerk 1, crossing guards, we're gonna have interviewing 2 people Wednesday, so that should close up that vacancy there. So as we close with my 7 minutes, Operation Ceasefire, the question I would like to have answered from the community, how can you get involved? That's where it is right there. We had our first meeting there. See something, say something. Citizens take back their neighborhoods through Operation Ceasefire. Let's work together to make it happen. Tips line, Crime Stoppers, and educating our citizens and youth about the consequences of their action. So I want to say to the mayor and to the council and to the citizens of Lake City, we're working very hard to make things happen in our city. We're working very hard to ensure that our city is a safe place to be. We're working very hard to ensure that the data that we have, that we're deploying our agencies, our departments, in terms of what we're doing. Operation Ceasefire, we're constantly having meetings and talk about the things that we can talk about in our city. This is, I want to say to you, this is not a dog on the show. This is data. This is what we do. And this is how we're doing it. And the way that we make it happen is through correct cooperative effort for our citizens and to back these women and these men who are out there every day trying to make things happen in our city. Thank you so much for your time. I've tried to do 7 minutes. I'm not sure if I went over. So thank you.
Now, let me tell you something. This, you let the chief come up, and this has been going on too long. You don't live in this community. Most of y'all don't live in the community where the crime is going on. Nor does the chief live out in a place called a plantation. Why would you live in a plantation? All we went through, I have no freaking idea, but that's our business. But let me tell you something, Mayor. This dog and pony show stuff, we got a leadership problem at the police department. Nothing against these cops. Cops can only do what their leadership put them in place to do. That's number 1. 2, she do not want to be the chief of Lake City, but she wouldn't have put in a job down in Tallahassee. That's also a fact. So if you really want to be a police chief, you wouldn't have been trying to apply for a job somewhere else. Mayor, let me tell you what the chief just did. The chief just gave us a whole bunch of statistics and basically blamed the community. Now, what do you suppose me and these people go do when we go confront somebody about gun violence? The first thing you're gonna say, we should left it to law enforcement. Well, law enforcement should have came up here and said, meaning the chief, she should have came up here with a plan. The chief has no plan. What she should have been saying is how hard she's gonna get with Sheriff Mark Hunter, how she's gonna get with other agencies and pull those resources together and fight this crime that's happening in the predominantly Black community. But I bet if it was happening over there in Grandview Village and all these other places where it's predominantly white at, I guarantee you she'll fix the problem. It's happening in the Black community. And for her to come up here and give a whole bunch of statistics, I didn't see no major arrests about the crimes that were committed. 70 gunshots. She said it could have been people caught backfiring. She has no way of substantiating that. If people call and say they heard gunfire, is she saying they're lying? You cannot blame the community for this problem. Until the council gets serious and realize that we need a new police chief that knows how to effectively get involved in the community and get crime resolved through all measures necessary. You got shootings and killings taking place in the predominantly Black community. Do you care about that? Forget what she's talking about, Mayor, council members. Do you care about it? And if you care about it, you'll care less about these statistics and we'll get some boots on the ground down there. That's what we need. We don't need no dog and pony show. We don't need nobody with no 1-800 number. We need law enforcement agencies working together and boots on the ground to fix this problem. You're short of staff. You don't have enough help, you need to be pooling your resources. Why she can't work with the sheriff? Why she can't work with the FDLE? And if you need to, bring the feds in. Shit, why am I doing her job? I'm sitting up here, you need to give me her money. I'm sitting up here telling you the plan you need to fight crime. This is what she should be up here doing. This is uncalled for, man. You got another shooting going on right now. And all she's doing is doing a statistic count. How's that fair to our community, man? I mean, no deer in the headlights, man. We need answers. This is you. This is your city. Everybody votes for the mayor. So we look for you for guidance. Either this board tells this interim city manager to get the chief to get a real plan together that involves all law enforcement agencies to get this resolved, chief. Mayor. This can't continue. I guarantee if it was one of your kids or one of your nephews or one of your peers or one of your peer kids, you wouldn't be sitting back letting her do this dog and pony show. You'll be pissed off and you'll make sure that she has some boots on the ground in your community. It's a lack of funding in my community, the predominantly black community, and there's a lack of resources when it comes to using police sources to fight the crime. This ain't right. What is this? You ain't saying shit. I mean, this is messed up. You don't care?
But it's not something I can answer right now.
Instruct the interim city manager to have the chief to get other agencies involved. She can't get it done. It's been going on and on under her leadership. Evidently, if it's keep increasing under her leadership, she can't handle it. It's a no-brainer. If crime keep increasing under her leadership, Mel, increasing under her leadership, she can't handle it. It's obvious. The evidence, the proof is there that she can't handle it. And she needs to bring in help from other agencies. And there needs to be a recommendation from this board for her to do so. Black kids are getting shot and killed now.
I know.
You know it?
Yeah, I do. Very aware of it.
How much do you care about it?
Very much.
What?
That's why I was for funding the police and doing what
Funding the police. Funding the police.
Well, I'm not.
Funding.
You always wanted to fade up here. That's not what this is for. If you ask a statement, you went wherever the 3 minutes. I can
You're right, man. You're right. It's in your actions and the interaction of this council that shows what you really care about. You care about No Lusty Festival, right? You care about all these other things that has nothing to do with a race of human beings.
Yes, we do, baby.
Yeah, well, your money ain't showing and your resources ain't showing.
Nelson George, 930 Northeast Joe County. I really am disappointed on how the chief likes to pit people of color against the police. We are not against the police. Now, we're against bad police officers, bad law enforcement officers, but we are not against police. We need the police just like everybody else. And I am very disappointed that she would try to come up here and act like black people don't like the doggone police. That's not true. We appreciate every officer and what you do. Now, the leadership need to instruct, and we understand that you can only do what the leadership have you do. Now, what the chief could do, I can help out with a plan, is this, at the parks, you got schools, you got resource officers. At the parks, why we can't have some officers just at the park? Hanging out at the park when you got children there, you got teenagers there, tempers flaring, they got an officer in the area, they less likely to get in a fight, less likely to go to the car to get a gun, because you got an officer right there on the premises, walking around, sitting at the basketball court. That's one thing. Number two, you can have officers around these parks where the young kids are. Now, I'm not saying occupy them and have them, intimidate them like she did one time, had like 7 officers and they scared to go to the park. You want to encourage them to the park, because guess what? If they're at the park playing, doing a crate challenge or playing basketball, they're not going through somebody's window. They're not on the corner doing whatever. We want to encourage them to use these parks, so we got to keep them safe at these parks. Have an officer, and if you have the same officer, just like school resource officers, that's why they find out everything, because people know school resource officers. They're in touch with them. They talk to them every day. You got an officer, Jimmy Fennell at Pathways, could got information from every kid about every crime going on, because he was talking to them and dealing with them every day. Just like you have school resources, I have them at the park. We're not saying put them 20 deep, but if you have an officer present, they're less than likely to go to the car and go get a gun. They're less likely to get in a fight. Because I got an officer right here. We can do things to combat crime, simple things. Instead of sitting up there in front of the old lumber place club mansion trying to get speeders, have sitting at the doggone park, sitting at the recreation where you see kids playing, camped out there. Stop worrying about the speeding ticket, but worry about our life and safety. That's one thing you can do. That's one part of the plan, not some doggone statistics. And stop telling people that black people don't like the police. Did you ever think maybe they don't talk because they're afraid? It ain't like we got a good history with the police. And then if it is crime going on, and we tell the police and they don't do nothing, and here we go. Now we in trouble with the people we live around. So maybe you need to take that in consideration before you say nobody won't talk. Maybe they're afraid to talk. Maybe they can't talk. Think about that. They got to live there with the people that's doing stuff. So maybe they can't talk. It ain't always that don't want to talk to the police.
Okay.
Man, if I may just quickly, I think we have a trust issue. I mean, that should be clear. I mean, the number don't speak to trust. But trust is serious. If you got people who won't talk to the police, they don't talk to the police because they're afraid necessarily of the shooters or the criminals. They got as much fear of the police than they do with the people who doing the bad deeds. I don't know what's so hard for people to come to grip with the trust issue. People don't trust. And until we get past that, then we're gonna have a problem getting cooperation. I put on paper, no trust, no cooperation. If you can build up some trust, if those young people, I ain't talking about 10, 12, 13, I'm talking about the people out there who are 18 and 30 that actually engage in these violent crimes and doing the shooting. You know, we talk about kids, but the kids is one thing, but the young adults is another issue altogether. But we don't have any trust. And if I had an opportunity to speak on the budget process, I would suggest it to the city council. Part of the problem, I hadn't been able to get these numbers yet, and I guess there's some secret to it, is what number of patrol officers actually live within the city limits. So if you got officers who driving in from Live Oak, Lake Butler, wherever they're coming from, put the 12 hours in and they leave. Well, that officer cannot establish a real rapport with the community because he or she not spending no time here. So if it's an issue with housing or issue with some more money, then that's where you can take some money. Okay, we'll give you some incentive. We'll give you help pay your rent if you'll stay inside the city of Lake City. Because I can guarantee you now, I can't guarantee you, but I would suggest you less than half of the people on patrol that sit in county Lake does not reside inside the city limits of Lake City. And probably may not even reside in the county at all. So we have to work on the trust issue. And you can't say, we can't do this because we're not getting cooperation from the public. Then the next question will be, why? Why is it that the people won't tell the police what's going on? I'm different. Somebody shoot around my house, I see them, I'm gonna tell. So everybody need to know that. If I can recognize the car, I'm pointing the car out. But there are other people who are not gonna do it. But if they have some trust, the tip line, they say, oh, you call tip, they're gonna remain anonymous. Well, people don't even believe that. For whatever reason, they don't even believe they're gonna be anonymous. If somebody calls and say, hey, I want to report a murder at 1826 North Martin Luther King, don't give their name, I doubt very seriously they don't capture that phone number. If you don't capture that phone number, then it's irresponsible. That means you got a call about a murder and you don't even know where it came from. But the point I'm making, man, the one I want to leave you with, there got to be some trust established. And it can't be just the community that got to do it all. Law enforcement got to reach out to the citizens and help establish that trust. Don't expect the citizens to just reach out. Do something, come up with some programs, make people want to be a part of it. You know, but just say, well, we can't help them, they won't tell. Well, it's not the citizen's responsibility just to tell. You can solve some crimes without citizen participation.
Well, anything else from council?
Good afternoon. My name's Ken Boucher, 230 Southeast Brown Street. I wasn't gonna speak tonight, but I feel like I need to tell this story. I had an incident at my house. My dog stabbed at twice. I come home, I spot the perp that stabbed my dog. pick up my phone. I called the Lake City Police Department. We do not have an officer to send to you. I stayed on the man 2 blocks away for 45 minutes. We do not have an officer to send to you. I was livid. I said, I'm gonna go get some ice cream, settle down. I pulled into Winn-Dixie. There's the mayor coming to his car. I said, sir, don't you run this city? Yes, I do. I told him what happened. He said, come see me in my office. I went in the store. I come out of the store, and guess who's waiting for me? A police officer. Where's the perp? He stood down there where I took my eyes off of him. He still ain't been to jail for stabbing my dog. I'm a citizen. I do not trust the police department. I am angry. I'm not going to rant and rave. These young men brought some good suggestions to the floor. I say, you do what you got to do. Get a workshop together and get on this problem. I'm not going to point no fingers, but I seen some videos of one of our leaders in a traffic stop. It angered me. It angered me. That's not leadership. And I don't know how y'all see this thing. These young men right here, they brought some good suggestions. And I don't know how we do this, but we need to make it happen. We need to get on top of this problem. Thank you for letting me speak.
All right. We will be adjourned. I'm out of count. See y'all in a couple weeks.